After finishing up Fate Zero and Unlimited Blades Works, you guys in the comments suggested that I take a look at the Heaven's Feels movies. And to be honest, there was something that made me want to make a video on it. But it's probably not what you would initially think. When you have heroes who are these larger-than-life characters that live up to their legends, the question is, how the hell do you make a villain who can rival them? One that stands out to most in this franchise is the Golden Boy, who encapsulates the phrase, spitting on a peasant. But for me, there is someone who stands out even more. So, who is the man in the robe, and how is it that this man of God was born with the heart of a demon? Kirei Katomi was one of the 7 chosen to participate in the 4th Holy Grail War, being the master of the assassin class. Kirei summoning assassin is very fitting, as he was bestowed with the title of executioner within the church, whose sole purpose was to hunt down mages, as they were considered heretics, and to end their lives. So you may be wondering, okay, cool, but what if Kirei made you want to make a video, when we have characters like Saber, Shiro, and Tosaka? The thing is, to answer that question, 1, I've already made a video covering Shiro, which, thank you all so much for the support on that video, and as well giving me a bit of imposter syndrome. I honestly am over the moon every time I think about it. And to be honest, Kirei up to this point in both Unlimited Blades Work and the first 2 Heaven's Feel movies, he's played a more background role, but the final movie of the trilogy is where he shined out for me. Also, spoilers for plot points throughout Heaven's Feel and its ending, so unless you want to feel sadness for not experiencing it yourself, get out. That sounded like a dick.
Marker. And action.
Also, spoilers for plot points throughout Heaven's Feel and its ending, so unless you want to feel sad for not experiencing it yourself, I suggest you get out. But don't forget to leave a like and rate your Uber 5 stars before you go. In this route, we get so much more of a look into who Kirei is, and building upon what we learned about him in Fate Zero. And the best way to describe him is in his own words. A man born defected. What usually makes a person happy? Finding passions and growing and such? Maybe it's being recognized for their efforts, or being surrounded by loved ones. But for Kirei, none of those things do such. For him, his bliss comes from the suffering of others, encapsulated in pain and misery. But instead of giving into the corruption, he seeks for a divine change, and joins the church, following in the footsteps of his father, seeking salvation from the wickedness within him, doing his best to live as others, and the things that are good and right, attempting to find joy in having a wife and child, but it instead drags him down into the depths of laments, with him living in the States for most of his life, and seeing joy as something sinful. That is until he meets Gilgamesh, who says, "The problem is that you don't know what joy is, as you haven't seen what form your soul has taken." With this setting Kirei into motion on searching for someone who can understand who he is. The culmination of all these things is what makes Kirei so compelling, knowing what is right and wrong, making an honest attempt to do what is good, but ultimately giving into the darkness. Remember how I said he had a wife? Well, she died from a self-delete. His father was murdered during the 4th Holy Grail War, and Kirei only felt sadness because he himself was not the one responsible for seeing the light leave their eyes. He was also keeping Gilgamesh alive by sacrificing children during the period between the 4th Holy Grail War to the 5th, and upon the beginning of the 5th Grail, has taken the role of judge, who's supposed to be an overseer that does not interfere in the matter. But Kirei decides to forego the rules. The only problem is, he already has a servant in Gilgamesh, so to resolve this issue, Kirei then tracks down the Master of Lancer and severs their arm off their body in order to gain their command seals. Kirei is downright evil, but not in the same vein as someone like the Joker, who enjoys his chaos in a maniacal way. Kirei just has this controlled demeanor that just engulfs the room and puts him as the head of such. And people look at how he helped Tosaka and Shiro as some good, but it's revealed that he hated them to the core and couldn't wait to kill them, and was just simply keeping them around to the end so he could truly enjoy their suffering. But his intents were not the extent of what Kirei was capable of, because remember, he went toe-to-toe with one of the world's most deadly mercenaries in the previous war, And now in this iteration, there was another running rampant, but this time it's the assassin class servant. This assassin is a formidable enemy who easily dispatched of Caster as well as her master, the same guy who went fist to blade against Saber. But despite all of that, Kire shows who is the superior assassin in their duel, defeating the servant as well as defeating the body of its master. With the cementing moment for me in wanting to make this video was his final scene that just puts everything Kire is on display in his final confrontation with Shiro. Wanting to release the evil entity into the world, stating, "If there's a life that wants to hatch, letting it emerge is what love really is." As Kire understands what the entity is to the core and wanting to learn from it, seeking someone who knows his soul. Kire does find someone who is akin to his soul, but is on the opposite face from him, and that person is standing right in front of him, Shiro. They both are husks of people not being able to find joy within themselves, instead having to replenish their soul based off the living of others. For Shiro, it's sacrifice and servitude, but for Kire, it's others' pain and lament. The moment this man drops his robe to reveal how jacked he is just as iconic to me as the Henry Cavill fist reload. And the fight as well. It was so gritty seeing these two characters on the verge of death, just brawling it out, with no special abilities, no crazy acrobatics and fluidity, just boiled down to the most primal of fights. But the cherry on top was when Kire loses. He just stands up, declaring Shiro the winner, and calls it a life. Kire is this layer beyond of a villain being bad just because. And trust me, having villains being bad for just that is why Gilgamesh is a fun antagonist to watch. But the thing that brings Kire to a different level is him knowing the demons within him and attempting to exorcise it, but in the end, letting the evil devour the pursuit of finding the glistening light.